This is for women who have been holding everything together and quietly wondering when it became this heavy.
The pharmacist asked if I needed help finding anything, and I stood there holding a box of ibuprofen, staring at the label like I'd never seen one before. The fluorescent lights hummed above me. I blinked. What was I looking for again? No, I'm fine, I said, placing the box back on the shelf. My hand trembled slightly. I wasn't fine. I walked out without buying anything. That afternoon, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee that had gone cold. The house was quiet, my daughter was at college, my husband was at work. I pressed my palm against my chest and felt my heart beating too fast, even though I was just sitting there, doing nothing. What is happening to me? I thought about Sarah. She told me last month that she woke up one morning and couldn't remember her neighbor's name. The woman she'd waved to for 7 years, she stood there in her driveway, frozen, the name just gone. She laughed when she told me, but her eyes didn't laugh. I thought I was losing my mind, she said. I didn't laugh either. My own forgetting had started small. A word I needed during a meeting at work, it hovered right there, just out of reach. And I had to talk around it. My colleague filled it in for me. Budget. She said, budget, such a simple word. I'd used it 1,000 times. I thanked her and felt my face burn. At night, I lay in bed and felt my body betray me in new ways. My skin itched for no reason. My knees ached. I'd wake up with my pillow soaked, my hair damp, my heart racing like I'd been running. But I hadn't been running. I'd been sleeping. Or trying to. My husband would turn over, still asleep, and I'd stare at the ceiling in the dark, feeling like a stranger in my own body. Is this just me? Is something wrong with me? I started paying attention to other women. Really paying attention. At the grocery store, I saw a woman my age standing in the frozen food aisle with her hand on her chest, breathing slowly, deliberately. She looked around to see if anyone was watching. I pretended I wasn't. In the office bathroom, I heard someone crying softly in the stall. When she came out, she was older than me, maybe 55, and she washed her hands without looking in the mirror. She dried them carefully. Then she left. I wanted to ask her if she was okay. I didn't. There was Linda, who told me she'd been prescribed 3 different medications in 6 months because her doctor kept saying it was stress. Just stress, she repeated, shaking her head. Like stress makes your joints swell. Like stress makes you bleed for 23 days straight. She finally switched doctors. The new one ran tests. Perimenopause, he said. Like it was obvious. Like everyone should have known. Linda looked at me when she told me this, and I saw something in her face, relief. Maybe, or anger. Or both. Nobody told me it could be like this, she said. I nodded. Nobody told me either. I started noticing my own body differently. The way my jeans didn't fit the same, even though I hadn't changed anything. The way my face looked puffier in the morning. The way I'd feel absolutely fine one moment. And then suddenly, without warning, a wave of heat would rise through my chest, my neck, my face. And I'd have to step outside, even in winter, just to breathe. My husband asked once, "Are you okay? You look flushed." I wanted to scream. Instead, I said, "I'm fine." But I wasn't fine. And I was starting to realize that I started keeping track. Not obsessively, just a small notebook in my nightstand drawer. Days when I felt like myself. Days when I didn't. Days when my period came. Days when it didn't. The pattern was chaos. 26 days. Then 42. Then 19. My body had become unpredictable, and I hated not knowing what to expect. At work, I excused myself during a presentation and locked myself in the bathroom. My face in the mirror was bright red, sweat beading at my hairline. I ran cold water over my wrists the way I'd read somewhere online. It didn't help much. I pressed a wet paper towel against the back of my neck and waited for the heat to pass. When I came back, my boss asked if I was feeling all right. "Just warm in here," I said. He looked at the thermostat. 68 degrees. Why doesn't anyone talk about this? I thought about my aunt, who I always remembered as moody. Family gatherings, where she'd snap at someone for no reason, then apologize later. We used to joke about it, her bad days. Now, I wondered if anyone ever asked her what was really going on. Probably not. There was Jennifer, who worked in accounting. She started wearing layers, cardigans over blouses, scarves she could take off quickly. I noticed because I'd started doing the same thing. One day we ended up in the break room together, both holding cups of ice water in January. She looked at me. I looked at her. How long for you? She asked quietly. About a year, I said. You? 3. She took a sip. It gets better. Then worse. Then better again. There's no pattern. That's the pattern. She didn't smile, but something in her eyes told me she understood. That small moment, 30 seconds in a break room, made me feel less alone than I had in months. I wish someone had told me it would be like this. My body ached in places that never ached before. My hips. My shoulders. I'd wake up stiff like I'd been in a fight. My hands hurt when I typed. I bought a wrist brace. Then another one for the other hand. My husband noticed. Maybe you should see someone, he said. I already had. The doctor ran blood tests. Everything came back normal. Normal, I repeated. Your hormone levels are fluctuating, she explained. That's normal for your age, normal. That word again. As if feeling like a stranger in your own body could ever be normal. But she did say something useful. This phase doesn't last forever. Your body is transitioning. It's hard, but it's temporary. Temporary. I held on to that word. I started asking women I trusted. My neighbor, a colleague, my sister-in-law, and almost every single one had a story. There was Michelle, who said she cried in her car every day for a month and didn't know why. She thought she was depressed. Maybe she was. But when her doctor adjusted her approach, not just pills, but real conversation about what was happening, things started to shift. There was Diane, who told me she couldn't sleep for more than 3 hours at a time. She tried everything: melatonin, meditation apps, new pillows, blackout curtains. What finally helped was talking to a specialist who understood that insomnia at this age isn't just stress, it's physiological. And there was my friend Rachel, who said the hardest part wasn't the hot flashes or the irregular periods, it was feeling invisible. I walk into a room and I feel like I disappear, she said. Like I'm not young enough to be noticed and not old enough to be respected. I'm just here. I knew exactly what she meant. But here's what I also started noticing. The women who were getting through this, really getting through it, weren't pretending it wasn't happening. They weren't waiting for it to magically go away. They were doing small, specific things. Jennifer started taking walks during lunch. Not long ones, just 15 minutes. She said it helped with the joint pain and the fog in her head. Michelle found a doctor who listened. Not the first one. Not the second one. The third. Diane started saying no to things that drained her. She stopped apologizing for needing rest, and me? I started being honest. Not with everyone, but with the people who mattered. I told my husband, I'm not okay right now, and I need you to understand that this is real. He didn't have answers, but he stopped standing in line at the post office when it happened again. The heat rose through my chest like a wave I couldn't stop. I felt my face flush, my neck prickle. The woman behind me shifted her weight, impatient. The clerk moved slowly, methodically. I focused on breathing, in, out, in, out. It passed. It always did. But this time, something was different. I didn't feel ashamed. I didn't rush to explain or apologize or pretend I was fine. I just stood there and let it move through me. When I got to the counter, the clerk, a woman maybe 10 years older, than me, looked at me and said quietly, You okay, hon? I nodded, yeah. Just a hot flash. She smiled, not pity, not sympathy, just recognition. They're brutal, she said. Mine lasted about 4 years, then they just stopped for years. That should have scared me. But instead, I felt something unexpected, relief. Because she survived it and she was standing here working, living, functioning, I could too. What I've learned is this: there's no magic moment when everything suddenly makes sense. No single morning when you wake up and feel like yourself again. It's smaller than that. It's the day you stop Googling your symptoms at midnight, convinced something is terribly wrong. It's the afternoon you tell a friend the truth instead of saying I am fine when you're not. It's the moment you realize that fighting your body only makes it harder, and that maybe, just maybe, you can work with it instead of against it. I still have hard days. Days when my knees hurt for no reason. Days when I forget words I've used my whole life. Days when I look in the mirror and don't recognize a face looking back. But I also have good days now. More of them. I started sleeping better after I finally talked to a doctor who specialized in this. Not perfectly, but better. She didn't dismiss me. She didn't tell me it was stress. She listened. And then she gave me options, real ones. I started saying no to things that exhausted me without guilt. Dinner invitations I didn't want to accept. Extra projects at work that I didn't have the energy for. I stopped apologizing for needing space, and I started talking to other women. Really talking. At a birthday party last month, I ended up in the kitchen with 3 women I barely knew. Someone mentioned being tired all the time, and I said, "Is it the kind of tired where sleep doesn't help?" Her eyes widened. Yes, exactly that. And then we all started talking about the weight that wouldn't move, the moods that came out of nowhere, the night spent staring at the ceiling, the feeling of being underwater while everyone else was breathing just fine. We stood there for almost an hour, sharing things we'd never said out loud. One woman said, "I thought I was the only one." We all did. My daughter called me last week and said, "Mom, I was thinking about what you told me, about what you're going through." I waited. "I'm going to remember this," she said. "So when it's my turn, I won't feel so alone." I started crying. Not sad crying. Something else. Because maybe that's the point. Maybe we go through this so the women coming after us don't have to go through it in silence. I thought about my mother again. How she used to fan herself at the table and never explained. How she'd snap sometimes, then apologize. How I never asked her what was happening because I didn't know to ask. I wish I had. But I can't go back. I can only go forward. Last week, I ran into Sarah, the one who forgot her neighbor's name. She looked lighter somehow. I asked her how she was doing. "Better," she said. "I started hormone therapy, and I stopped pretending I was okay when I wasn't. That helped more than anything." She paused. "You?" "Getting there," I said. And I meant it. This morning, I woke up and my body felt like my own again. Not perfect. Not the way it used to be. But mine. I made coffee. I sat at the kitchen table. The house was quiet, but it didn't feel lonely. It felt peaceful. My husband came downstairs and kissed the top of my head.